The regular MLB awards may be over, and we can argue who should have won each award, but that's boring. You know what's not boring? The annual Analytic Awards. The normal MLB awards only care about the production that each player puts out in the season. The Analytic Awards will also take that into account a little bit, but the numbers behind the scenes will hold a little more weight. Let's get right into it, and make sure you stick around to see the worst player of the 2023 MLB season, because in my opinion, that is the most interesting, because we hear all the time about the best players in the league, but nobody ever talks about the worst, so stick around for that. But for now, we're going to get started off with the luckiest players of 2023, one pitcher and one hitter. A lucky player is a player that had good production in 2023, but probably got a few things to go their way. A couple seeing eye singles or a couple home runs hit to just the right spot, you know what I mean. Their expected stats were not the greatest, but their outcomes were pretty good. Without further ado though, the luckiest hitter of 2023 was none other than TJ Friedl. Now this shouldn't come as that big of a surprise, considering he was never a top prospect or never a high profile player, and all of a sudden he's putting up a 4.4 fWAR season at age 27. Now, I'm not saying that he's a bad player, I'm just saying he probably won't have another season like this anytime soon. His batting average was .279, while his expected batting average was just .240. His slugging percentage was .467, while his expected slugging percentage was just .321. That difference was the biggest difference in the league by far. This is largely due to playing in Great American Ballpark, which conveniently has a very short right field wall, which Friedl took advantage of quite a bit in 2023. Just take a look at this chart that shows all of his home runs. He's quite the pool hitter. He did hit 18 homers, but based on the velocities and launch angles that he hit the ball at, he was expected to just have 12, which is a difference of 6. That difference is the second highest in the league, only second to Isaac Paredes. He still had a great season, but most likely he won't repeat this anytime soon. On the pitching side of things, we have Blake Snell. Yes, he had a great year, he got the Cy Young Award, but this is the annual Analytics Awards. I don't care about the production. Snell's ERA this year was just 2.25, but his expected ERA was all the way up at 3.77. Expected ERA is calculated by looking at the probabilities of each ball hit based on the exit velocity and launch angle. If a batter hits a hard line drive, that is going to drive the expected ERA up, since the hard line drives usually lead to runs, but if that hard line drive goes right to the center fielder, well, then Blake Snell got lucky. He let the batter hit the ball hard, but luckily it was right to a defender. The difference in his actual ERA and his expected ERA comes out to negative 1.52, which is the greatest difference in the league. It also doesn't help that Snell's walk numbers were way out of control, and he was working with runners on base more often than not, and he also gave up a fair share of hard contact with a barrel rate only in the 60th percentile. Now it's time to talk about the guys who maybe could have had a better season if it were to run again, or the guys who got unlucky. The unluckiest hitter of 2023 is sure to surprise you. It's not some guy who had a down year or a guy who struggled a bit. It is Aaron Judge. Based on the quality of contact or his exit velocity and launch angles, he was expected to have a batting average of .291 and a slugging percentage of .721. Yes, .721 slugging percentage. In reality, his average was just .267 and his slugging percentage was only .613. The difference in his slugging percentages is by far the most out of anyone with at least 200 balls put in play in 2023. While Judge put up a 5.3 fWAR season in just 106 games, it could have been a whole lot better if things could have gone the way they were expected to. While Judge put up a 5.3 fWAR season in just 106 games, it could have been a whole lot better if things could have gone as they were expected to. 721 slugging percentage? Come on now. The pitcher, though, is more of what you would expect from an unlucky player. It's a guy who's usually pretty good, but in 2023 had a little bit of a down year. He's also a free agent here in the offseason, so not the greatest time to put up this unlucky season, but I think most of the front offices now will see the numbers behind the scenes and he will still get a pretty big payday. You might have already guessed who it is, but it is Aaron Nola. Nola got a lot of hitters to chase this season with a 96th percentile chase rate. He still obviously has great stuff. His expected ERA was 3.77, while he actually put up a 4.46 ERA, which obviously doesn't look too good on the outside. He was still striking out a good amount of hitters in 2023 and limiting the walks, which has been his MO for his entire career. It would not surprise me to see Nola have a bounce back year wherever he ends up in 2024. Now, heading into the more traditional award categories, we go to the Offensive Player of the Year. Now, in order to win Offensive Player of the Year, we have to look at some of the outer layer statistics like WRC+, walk rate, strikeout rate, but we can also dig a little deeper and look at things like exit velocity, launch angle, and expected stats like we did with the previous awards. The player who won this award has all of those in pretty good positions. He's in second place in the entire league in WRC+ amongst qualified hitters. He is also in the 100th percentile in expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, average exit velocity, and max exit velocity. Oh, He's hitting the ball that hard, so he must be striking out a fair amount, right? Well, not exactly, since he's in the 97th percentile in K rate. He's in the 93rd percentile in barrel rate, 98th in hard hit percentage. If you didn't already know, it's Ronald Acuna Jr. He won the MVP this year without playing good defense, so you know his offense is top tier, and the analytics also agree with that, obviously. Now for the Defensive Player of the Year. This one was probably the hardest decision because it came down to two really good defensive players. Both of them are rookies. Those two are Brenton Doyle and Patrick Bailey. After a lot of deliberation with the annual Analytics Award Council, aka myself, the winner was chosen. And that winner is Brenton Doyle. Now I love Patrick Bailey. He was the best defensive catcher in the league this year, and he's on his way to become one of the top catchers in the league here soon, but in the end, I had to go with Doyle. Now, you might not even know who this guy is, considering he's a rookie and he's pretty much an automatic out of the plate, and he plays for the Rockies, but he does play pretty good center field. According to Baseball Savant's fielding run value metric, his season is tied for the 5th best defensive season by an outfielder since 2016. Fielding run value is basically just a stat that combines range and arm to estimate how many runs a player was worth just based on their defense. He had the 2nd best range out of any player, just behind Dansby Swanson, and the 2nd best arm, just behind his teammate Nolan Jones. Those two put together makes for a pretty elite defender in center field. Even being one of the worst hitters in the league, he still put up a .9 F4, which just shows you how much value he adds on the defensive side. The Rookie of the Year, on the other hand, is a pretty easy selection. That, of course, is Corbin Carroll. There is no surprise that the analytics say that Carroll is the best rookie. It's kind of boring, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to talk about a rookie who not everyone is talking about, and that is Nolan Jones. The Guardians traded him away to the Rockies in the offseason for infield prospect Juan Brito, and it's safe to say they are probably regretting that decision by now. Just look at these stats. 3.7 F4 in just 106 games. It's pretty dang good for a 25-year-old. He hits for contact, hits for power, takes his walks. He does strike out a bit, but who cares? This is the Analytics Award. We don't care about strikeouts. Nolan Jones also has one of the best arms in the league and had the most valuable arm in 2023. But Corbin Carroll still takes home the award. Nolan Jones, little honorable mention there. It's finally time for probably my favorite award, and that is the Anti-Cy Young. Blake Snell and Garrett Cole may have won the Cy Youngs this year because they had the best production, but they didn't win the Anti-Cy Young because the Anti-Cy Young doesn't care about the production for the most part. I went through a couple of names for this one, but the one that I finally decided on was Pablo Lopez. Man, that trade for the Twins is turning out to look pretty good, even with Luis Arraez hitting how he is. They got Lopez locked up on a long-term deal for pretty cheap, and man, did he have a good season this year. And if I'm going to be honest, Spencer Strider probably should have won this award, but I get to choose who wins this, and everybody knows how good Strider is, and I want to talk about Pablo Lopez, okay? Can you let me do that? All right. Lopez finished the season with an expected ERA of just 3.00, which was the best out of any pitcher with at least 150 innings pitched. He also finished high in FIP and XFIP, meaning he was striking guys out, not walking people, and when the hitters were making contact, it was weak contact most of the time. Looking at his Baseball Savant page, you can see that he was good at just about everything. Let's compare that to the real Cy Young Award winners. As you can see, Lopez's analytics are much better than the two Cy Young winners, so this is why he wins the Anti-Cy Young. As we are getting close to the end here, it comes down to the two biggest awards, the best and the worst. So how are we going to pick the MVP? You have to play good defense, and you have to hit the ball hard. If you hit the ball hard, and especially with a good launch angle, the analytics will love you. It can help to run the bases well and take your walks. This isn't the best player in the league, this isn't the most valuable player, but this is the guy who the analytics love. The guy who just lives for the analytics. This could go to a couple guys, but the guy I settled on is Bobby Witt Jr. The one thing that I don't like about this pick is that he just doesn't walk a lot, but he fills so many of the other categories that I was looking for that he has to be the winner here. He may not have the best batting average or slugging percentage or OPS, but he's probably a top player in the league in 2023. He also plays for the Royals, who kind of sucks, so he doesn't get much attention. He plays phenomenal defense at shortstop, which is one of the most important positions defensively, which bodes well for the analytics. He also runs the bases really well, and Baseball Savant actually has him as the most valuable base runner in the entire league this year. Along with that, he hits the ball hard, and his expected stats are extremely high for a guy who plays this good on defense and runs the bases really well. He quietly put up a 5.7 WAR season, which is near the top 10, and most people probably don't know that because he's not putting up huge offensive numbers, and he plays for the Royals too, so he is the analytics MVP this year. Just a great season from Bobby Witt Jr. Now we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, the worst player of the 2023 season, analytically. This guy has to be bad on defense and offense, and there are a couple candidates that fill that role. There are guys like Mike Moustakas, Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, and Jurickson Profar, but none of those guys were bad enough to take home the award. The winner of the worst player in 2023, or I guess you could say loser, goes to Kike Hernandez. He did not do well at all in 2023. He doesn't really have a position. He played 74 games at shortstop, 36 games at second base, 23 games in center field, 12 games at third base, 11 in left field, 10 at first base, and 4 in right field. And somehow, he was bad at every single one of them. Baseball Savant says he was the 7th least valuable defender in the entire league. Now, you expect him to be a good hitter to make up for that, right? Well, not exactly. He had a WRC plus of 72, or 28% below average, which is not good, especially for a guy who can't play defense. He put up an F4 of negative 1.3 in just 508 plate appearances, so he didn't play a full season, but still put up a really low WAR. That is pretty bad. Just look at his Baseball Savant page. He's 1st percentile defensively and 8th percentile offensively when it comes to value. And the rest of his numbers, even behind the scenes, don't look all that good. And I think his career is going to be pretty much over. He might go to the minors, but I just don't see any Major League Baseball team wanting this guy on their team when he's putting up this kind of numbers. And with that last award, the first annual Analytics Awards are now over. Let me know what you think or what you would have done differently. And just maybe we'll do this all again next year. Please like the video and subscribe while you're down there. Save yourself a trip, you know? Thanks. Goodbye.